So a while back in February, I checked my Google Docs for the script. I would show it, but there's a lot of weird stuff around that script. I had the idea for doing a video where versus Muso Tensei versus Ultra Instinct because a lot of Dragon Ball fans and stuff at the time weren't familiar with Muso Tensei. And if you were familiar with it, or even if you were casually familiar with it, you probably were aware that the main discussion or like main comparison of Ultra Instinct was Muso Tensei, a technique in Fist of the North Star. Now, I was gonna make the video recently, but I decided to check and see if someone had made the video first. And as it turns out, the YouTuber MCZ Pros MCZ Vids was able to do it first. I've seen a little bit of it. There's really good editing across the board. It's a really solid video. I don't think I'll watch the whole thing. However, we'll see what happens. I do just want to check out the actual Muso Tensei versus Ultra Instinct part, however, since I'm curious to see what his outcome is. Now, truth be told, I'm already gonna tell you right now. If he did his research correctly, especially at the time he released his video, which is the September 3rd, I don't even think the granola arc had started at that point. I could be wrong on that, but I don't even think we saw Ultra Instinct in the granola arc yet. Um, I'm gonna be real. Well, we'll see what he says, but there is no evidence, even up till right now, that Muso Tensei is the inferior technique. Muso Tensei is superior to Ultra Instinct, bar nothing right now. But yes, we'll see what he says.
Ultra Instinct, the OP dodgy glowy form. Muso Tensei, the OG OP dodgy glowy form. At a glance, these two look extremely similar. They both have the same sort of glow, both were introduced fighting a red aurored enemy stronger than the whole cast, they both even have extremely similar shots. But today we're here to discuss a definite anime hot topic, which
I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm pretty sure. Like a lot of Jiren's attacks seem incredibly similar to how Rao fights, even to the point where Jiren's like iconic sort of fist rush is incredibly similar to how Rao looks when he's sitting on his horse, and he has his own little aura fist rush. So I'm pretty sure Jiren's like not a knockoff. I'm pretty sure he's a homage to Rao. That seems pretty likely.
form is better? Muso Tensei or Ultra Instinct, but that's not all. After that, we're gonna discuss the more controversial topic. Who would win with equal stats? Ultra Instinct Goku or Muso Tensei Kenshiro? First we have to
Okay, so I actually forgot he says Muso Tensei and Ultra Instinct there. I thought he was just gonna say Goku versus Kinshiro. So I guess we'll stick around and watch the whole video.
both forms are for a base. Ultra Instinct, or Autonomous Ultra Instinct, is a form where the fighter can dodge without really thinking about movement as their reflexes dodge for them. This somehow isn't as
A little bit of a critique there, very briefly, is if you're gonna show scans, it's probably for the best you show like actual like panel scans. He is showing off like scenes from the manga and anime. So I guess as long as like you don't have like sound, it's fine. But yeah, no. If he ends up watching this video, definitely show like a manga panel or something saying what Ultra Instinct does. That just makes it better if you're going to like go that distance.
broken as it sounds, as even though he dodges without thinking, when he ends up fighting Jiren, he still manages to get hit somehow, quite a few times, which is
I'm glad he does point that out.
implying it can't just dodge anything. And I guess it depends on how fast the enemy is moving. So far it's been used against Kefla, Jiren, Moro, and Granola, and it's
Okay, never mind. So the granola arc is here. Wait, so is he not going to include the manga version of the fight?
beaten Kefla. I know most people would argue, it beat the others, but my problem with this is, they fought multiple people, and they all did big moves against the main villains. Jiren fought a good chunk of the cast, and even when he loses, it was more of a teamwork thing than Goku
Yep.
washing him. Moro was pretty much the same as Jiren, but it was a bit more of a mess. Other than fighting a literal Angel, Vegeta, and Goku, Moro beats Goku, and is normal for Post Z. He gets up again somehow, and then he Granola fought Goku and Vegeta in their best forms, and at the time of writing this, they still haven't beat him. And
Okay, yeah. So further context up ahead, I think like I don't know if he has the statement, but there's a statement in the manga that Goku apparently claims that his Ultra Instinct wasn't up to snuff in Super Saiyan. I guess he's not used to using them both at the same time.
he's beaten both of them, so yeah, he's beat just Kefla. I'm not gonna argue it's not an oh shit moment when Goku brings out UI, as it is his most powerful form for the moment, and dealt damage to everyone he's used it on, but after its initial debut, as with most Dragon Ball forms, his strength seems to have started falling off a bit. Along with the
I do disagree a little bit with that one. Every time Goku steps up to fight somebody who's beating his ass, Ultra Instinct lets him fight them. Even Granola, the only reason he survived as long as he did in that fight, I use survive like loosely here, I mean like how long he lasted, was because of Ultra Instinct. I do agree that Ultra Instinct is diminishing in in its like impressive state. The more like we get of it. But I don't think it's being power capped anywhere near as badly as like Super Saiyan was over the course of the series. And we've already been through at least one arc with it, so we'll see how it goes.
The fact that Goku doesn't and can't really fight threats on his own is they're almost always stronger than him. Now we get on to Muso Tensei, or Nil Thought Rebirth. There's a lot more to explain here. Muso Tensei is the strongest of Hokuto Shinken's moves. It provides complete invulnerability to attacks. I know in the clips I'm showing it looks like, oh, Kenshiro's just dodging like Ultra Instinct was. No. You know when you see two people play a fighting game and you're just like, this person's playing on another level. This other dude's getting absolutely clapped. Or something like that. That's what Muso Tensei is. When someone enters Muso Tensei, they're fighting you on an entirely different plane of existence. Unless the other person also has Muso Tensei, Ken cannot get hit unless it's somehow disabled. It's beaten. No, hold on. Actually, Muso Tensei also has another incy weensy teensy little perk to it. It also lets Ken use the mastered version of every person he's fought or seen fight before his move.
Okay. Uh, so right off the bat, it just turns him into nothingness. I like yes, he's not wrong in what he's saying, but the way he's kind of making it sound is like he's making it sound like Kenshiro's in a different dimension or something. I guess you can argue that's what it is, but you're just becoming nothingness itself. Everything else so far seems to be correct.
Yes, every single person he's met since the first season, when he goes into Muso Tensei, he could use any of their moves. There's nothing in theory stopping him from learning moves mid-fight either. He's used Muso Tensei on Rogue.
Okay, so this is where like I'm gonna point out that the Divine Fist of the North Star on its own has a literal technique that steals its opponent's moves. Kenshiro himself has statements saying that at a glance he can learn an opponent's fighting style, and we know thanks to Kasumi Kenshiro, he basically has Ultra Instinct built into the North Star. On top of that, Kasumi was also able to create techniques on the spot based off his opponent's fighting styles. Uh, and again, Kenshiro, after watching Yuta do one fight, was able to use Yuta's fighting style almost perfectly. I would say perfectly, but like they never compare to Yuta. Like all he knows, like oh, using Yuta's technique, but he never really says like oh, it's as good as Yuta did it.
Kaio and Solia, and he's beaten.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hang on a minute.
On Ro, Kaio, and Solia, and he's beaten Ro, Kaio, and Solia.
What? Hang on, does someone? You know what? Okay. I don't think that Solia point is correct. Yeah, so we'll keep watching the video. I'm pretty sure that's wrong, and then I'll put in the comments afterwards. I'll check the manga again, but he never uses Muso Tensei on Solia.
Alone. Though Kaio could and did disable it with his weird gimmicky powers, Kenshiro overcame it and defeated him anyway.
Okay, so to clarify there, that's Kaio uses the Onrei Tenha technique, which is just void manipulation on a pretty massive level. Since he's using the anime, I wonder if he's gonna mention this or not. But according to Kenshiro in the anime, even though it beat Muso Tensei the first time because it freaked out Kenshiro, basically on the second go around, Muso Tensei was like unaffected, and he was able to fly through the void and strike him.
For the Ro fight, Ro also had Muso Tensei, so it wasn't a tense fight, but Kenshiro kills him regardless. As for Solia, Kenshiro quickly used it to lob his arm off in the manga, and he didn't even really have to use it against him.
Okay, yeah, so I no that's a weird interpretation. So basically what Kenshiro does is he just like strikes him with his palm and that's it. Uh Especially if he's using the anime clips. The anime doesn't even show him use Muso. That's a weird one. I wonder where he got that from. I wonder if that's like just the interpretation off the panels. Again, I'll check again to make sure I'm not wrong here, but this is the first time I've heard anyone say he used it against Solia.
There's also another major difference between the two forms.
Oh, so I'm going to point out right now, in both the anime and the manga versions of the Rao fight, it is confirmed that Rao let Kenshiro win. I'm saying that because he doesn't mention that fact, and I feel like that's kind of worth bringing up. But I mean, he still fought someone else who had the technique and won ultimately.
Not many people seem to mention. See, with Ultra Instinct, Goku is usually forced to use UI as his other forms are deemed too weak for who he's fighting against. Other than the Broly fight, he's used it for every major fight since Kefla for 4 fights.
That's true.
Muso Tensei is so strong, Ken hasn't needed to use it since those 3 times. Let alone, he didn't even really have to use it against Solia. While UI is somewhat new and Goku hasn't had a lot of chances to really use it, Kenshiro's gotten into many fights since learning MT, but he hasn't had to use it on many enemies, as they aren't strong enough to even warrant using the form on them. It's not because Ken is that strong, even though that definitely is a part of it. It's that Muso Tensei is so stupidly strong and overpowered, his fights would end in literal seconds if he used it as frequently as Goku.
That is true, but the North Star kind of likes fighting its opponents on equal ground. Like, the only reason Kenshiro uses the actual fucking Muso Tensei against Kaio is because Kaio was beating his ass. He had no answers to anything, so he's like, alright, I'll use my ultimate technique. And, that's such a fun panel when Kaio's like, oh, Muso Tensei, that's pretty cool. Now, let me show you Henri Tenha for a moment, and then just proceeds to beat his ass.
I've heard many people say UI versus Muso Tensei by themselves as forms would be a draw, which I feel must have been said by someone who just saw both forms glowing and dodging, because this just isn't true.
Yep, I agree.
Muso Tensei far outclasses Ultra Instinct in every way, from strength to technique, and before someone says speed's not really a factor. It's like I said, you can't hit MT unless the other person in the fight is also in MT. The only thing these two literally...
Not saying USB is bad, but that doesn't make it invincible like MT does. In 9 out of 10 scenarios, it'd be better to have MT. You know what? I want to know what that one scenario is, because even if like Goku showed up with Muso or with Ultra Instinct to fight Kaio, he's not escaping Henri Tenha. Good luck with that one.
Really have in common is blue glowing and After Effects hand movements. In terms of forms, Muso Tensei is going to take this fight.
Right.
So I've come to a realization in the middle of recording this video. This point is not going to be brought up in any point of this video because I think it would destroy the whole point of it. But if we were being really serious and technical, Muso Tensei, the thing about Muso Tensei is, as I said earlier, it learns techniques by seeing them. All he has to do is see it and he can do it.
You know, okay, yeah, see, you know, sort of Ken's Muso Tensei, he has this move too, 2 different T's. A techniques, yeah, okay, so he's bringing up the water reflecting, yeah. That's the one I mentioned earlier where he copied Yuta's fighting style, not Yuria.
Ultra Instinct is a technique, it is not a form. As we've seen multiple characters do it and say this, it's even on the wiki that it's a technique. So technically, if we were being 100% serious, if someone with Muso Tensei saw Ultra Instinct, they could copy Ultra Instinct.
Okay. As much as I do think that Kenshiro will be able to copy it with the water reflection mirror, Muso Tensei does not copy techniques. That is wrong. The reason Kenshiro has those masters is because their sorrow joined with his to feed into his Muso Tensei. Rao has Muso Tensei, but Rao doesn't have other people in his Muso Tensei. Kenshiro bonded with his opponents because they all ended up becoming his friends, they all ended up becoming close to him, and he took a piece of their sadness with him everywhere he went. I think he even says for Ray's death, for example, live on in my heart or something like Shin. And that's why they appear in his Muso Tensei. He ends up feeling sympathy and understanding for all of his opponents. They become his friends. And when that happens, all the people closest to him are in his Muso Tensei. This is why it's Toki, Souther, Ryuga's there, probably because it's his brother-in-law, Shin, Ray, and Shu. I'm surprised he's not bringing up the fact that Shu, he can fight blind because Shu could fight blind. But at any rate, yeah, so that's technically not correct. Muso Tensei does not copy techniques. Their souls end up becoming a part of Kenshiro, and that's how he's able to call upon them. That's technically how it's, described in the manga.
And then be in both forms at the same time. But anyway,
there would be no reason to do both at the same. That's just overkill.
Anyways, that was just
and again, technically, based off Kasumi Kenshiro's statements in Fist of the Blue Sky, you can argue that Kenshiro, in the base form of the North Star, already has Ultra Instinct. Because Ultra Instinct is just fighting without thinking. It's just fighting instinctively. Rao Rao's fist is confirmed to already do that in Fist of the North Star. He has a kick based off it, and he also states in the manga, at least from the online translation I could find on manga decks, that his fist just doesn't have any thought behind it. So Rao unironically fights at the level of Ultra Instinct, and Kasumi Kinshiro confirms that he can do the same thing during his fight with, I think it's a Taiwan or Taiyan. I don't know what the character's name is off the top of my head, but with the second North Star fighter he does encounter. So, unironically, Ultra Instinct would not be impressive in Fist of the North Star standards.
Quick point to throw out, so let's get back to the video.
Except for the fact that it does adapt like the North Star, since every time Goku's used it, he has gained new abilities, so that is pretty impressive.
Now we're gonna have the equal stats Goku versus Kenshiro argument. Someone might be saying, why not just say Goku versus Kenshiro period? Well, that's because I'm not gonna argue that point because it would be really stupid. One of these people can blow up planets, fight gods, and fly, and the other can't. It's obvious who would win that if it was just normal Goku versus Kenshiro.
That's fair, especially if you don't argue for statements or like implications. That is a very fair stance to take.
For this, we're gonna downscale Goku to Kenshiro's strength. Basically, we're just gonna make him a really durable human. He'll still have all of his techniques and stuff, he just can't fly or, I know some people tried to have this conversation before on some anime FAQ website when MUI just came out, but it seemed most of those people didn't really know what Fist of the North Star was, or what the words equal stats meant. So as a person who's seen both of the shows, and now that more time's passed for Dragon Ball to use UI more, I'm gonna try to end the conversation for them. To break this down, I'm going to be going over the main talking points I remember them making in their arguments, along with some common misconceptions people have about Kenshiro, since a lot of people haven't seen Fist of the North Star. Starting with the, can MT10 even hit MUI? Wouldn't it just be a tie? I feel like the person who said this just wanted some peace and quiet, because UI can't hit Muso Tensei at all. This literally physically just cannot happen. But most people argue no one can hit UI, even though Jiren hits UI multiple times and he used full power, so I don't see why MT with equal stats wouldn't be able to. This is the same character whose simplest attack is 100 Fist Rush. So I feel like hitting Goku even in UI wouldn't be that hard for him. But before I get off this point, note when I say that, I don't mean he'd simply walk up grown and then just simply...
I mean, so, again, technically, if you take Kasumi Kenshiro's statements and you take Rao's statements, that's actually perfectly accurate to say what Kenshiro would do to, like, equalize Goku. Again, like, it's not that Ultra Instinct is bad. It's not a bad technique or a bad fighting, like, let's call it technique. It's that there are so many martial arts in fiction that already have Ultra Instinct at a better level or a highly comparable level. To the point where probably every martial artist, like manga and shit, probably has some version of Ultra Instinct. That's how common the ability is. It's not, like, in all the martial art mangas I've read, there's been some version of Ultra Instinct, and I'd argue that in some cases they were done better. Like Fist of the North Star. Like, because again, like, with Ultra Instinct, you're just able to move instinctively faster, but if your opponent powers up like Jiren, you can still be hit. It's kind of like, meh.
As Goku would probably still be able to weave a lot of his attacks. But as I keep saying, Jiren hit Goku multiple times.
Yep.
And since Ken really only needs a few good hits before he can disable you, I don't think it would be difficult for him to get those few hits and then just clean up shop from there.
Yep.
You don't know if Goku has the same organs or pressure points as a human. Goku literally has a heart attack. Ken could work with just this. As for the pressure points, I'm gonna say it'd be quite weird if they were just randomly different. But even if they were, it's not as if Ken couldn't figure this out. Because when he fought Bowser, he figured out his organs and pressure points were reversed in the middle of fighting him. Goku's a real smart martial artist. He can probably...
Okay, so a little context here, and this is where, like, Lost Paradise, while it's a good game, kind of, like, spits in the face of the original manga. The only reason Rao, a prodigy of his own right, couldn't figure out Souther's pressure points. The only reason Kenshiro could is because Souther was literally jumping right in front of him and Ken blocked him. Like, Ken had nowhere to run or anything. There's not really a guarantee how that would apply, given the Souther situation. That being said, according to at least Kasumi, there are just some pressure points you can't move, period. I do agree that if he can figure out Souther's pressure points even at all, that it's possible he'd be able to figure out Goku's especially. But the way Kasumi kind of describes the North Star and how pressure points work, it sounds like it would work regardless. But even more importantly than that, and I love the fact that, we'll see if he brings it up, but according to Lost Paradise, since he's bringing up Lost Paradise, Ken doesn't even need pressure points to kill you. The main antagonist of Lost Paradise is a robot, essentially, with no pressure points, and the Divine Fist of North Star still ended up working on him. So that's where it gets a little silly, but we've already seen Goku has pressure points. Goku also has to be similar enough to a human in order to have a kid. I know it's fiction, but technically that's how biology works. But if you don't want to take that one into account, we do know he has pressure points. And yeah, this guy's right. He did figure out Sal's pressure points mid battle. And Salvador had more insta kill techniques and was much more dangerous on an equalized scenario than Goku is because Goku doesn't have like one hit kills. So even if like it takes a while, I do think Kenshiro, if the pressure points are in the same location, would be able to figure out his blood flow to figure out his pressure point location.
Outthink Kenshiro. These two characters are not on the same level of martial arts at all. Most of Kenshiro's fights end up with him creating a new technique to counter the enemies mid-fight, disabling body parts, and things similar to this. Goku's main strategy is to just be stronger than the person he's fighting. Most fights, Goku gets help from someone, or he just ends up stronger than the villain through some sort of random power-up. Or, as most fights, if not all fights in Super this far, both. Goku just really hasn't done anything for me to go, whoa, that was really smart, what an outplay. The only time I can think of is maybe when he shot the Ki Blast out of the water against Frieza.
If you've been on this channel and watched like kind of me talk about Dragon Ball, I've mentioned this several times. It's one of the worst things about Dragon Ball is that like as the series progressed, the martial arts kind of fell to the wayside. Ultra Instinct was a way to bring that back, but again, like we're talking about a guy who basically you can argue has it in his base form.
I guess, but he's never done anything super wild. While Kenshiro has moments like that all the time. Damn near every major fight, actually. If Goku at Kenshiro's strength fought someone with a gimmick like Kaio or Salvador, I don't think he would have won. Kenshiro can't even shoot beams.
Okay, so Salvador's gimmick wouldn't even work on Goku. Salvador's gimmick, for those of you who are unaware of Fist of the North Star, is that his pressure points are reversed. That being said, I do think Salvador would beat Goku in a fight if we did equalize it, because Nanto Seiken would just tear Goku apart. Like, Salvador one-shot Kenshiro, and Kenshiro was stronger than him. Nanto Seiken does not fuck around. Kaio would beat the shit out of Goku in an equalized fight, I'm sorry. The Demon Aura is fucking stupid. Hokuto Ryukin under Kaio is the most stupid fighting style in the series. Like, no wonder it's a North Star branch, because it has to keep up with the main North Star branch. Good God.
He doesn't even have ranged attacks. This again is what I mean by people just haven't seen the show. Even if we ignore the fact that Ken's able to do this move I forgot the Japanese name of, so I'm gonna put it on the screen. That also hits pressure points and his own little hand beams like he did against Ro. Like I said earlier.
Okay, so yeah, if he's compositing Kenshiro, okay, so those hand beams, technically you can just say he can do rouse energy attacks because all the North Star characters can perform Toki blasts.
Ken can use the abilities of anyone he's fought, and Ken's fought a lot of characters that can use beams, blasts, and explosive waves. Ken could steal Kamehameha or any of Goku's beams mid-fight if he really wanted or needed to. I wanted to get that out of the way just because I do remember this comment slightly miffed me a little bit when I first saw it. Long story short, don't think Goku's winning. Yeah, this is why people don't do anime debates with you guys, but hear me out. I'm gonna use a fighting game term here now, but the main advantage Goku would have here is he could zone out Kenshiro with all his beams and stuff, as Ken's beams haven't really been shown to reach that far. But he isn't exactly slow either, so I don't think him catching Goku would really be a problem, let alone he could just walk through the beams.
Yeah.
This fight simply is not possible with these circumstances for Goku. Let alone Kenshiro just has a lot more ways to incapacitate Goku. Literally any normal rush attack Ken does could mess him up. If he hits his pressure points enough, it's just over. Let alone Ken can do shit like this.
Yeah, no, like, this is not a fair fight if you equalize it, especially because, like, you can't equalize really skill, because even if you're like, oh, we'll make their skill the same, okay, Kenshiro still has a one-hit kill in, like, 99% of your body, where any point he hits is potentially lethal, whereas all Goku can do is punch you. It's really not fair. And yeah, again, like, just Ultra Instinct just solves the, or like, Muso Tensei just solves the problem. You can't, you know, I'm surprised he hasn't brought up the fact that Ultra Instinct has a time limit. He hasn't brought it up a single fucking time. Kenshiro could, and this is like this is out of character for Kenshiro, but let's say he just really wanted to win the fight. He could just stay in Muso Tensei forever, and then Goku's gonna run out of Ultra Instinct eventually, and then Kenshiro just beats him that way. Like, he wouldn't do that in character, but that's actually a valid argument if we're going like bloodlusted or whatever.
If Goku tries to back up with a quick jump or a flip, Ken can do this.
Ah, the 100 crack Celestial Fist.
And don't even get me started on this merciful technique. It can hit pressure points, it has range, an undefined range that changes in most other normal forms of media it's in.
We don't talk about this technique.
Fight really quickly. But to give DBZ fans some kind of peace in this, this is pretty much the only way Ken wins this matchup. Without Muso Tensei, but still with equal stats, it would be a rough fight with either being able to take it, but it would lean more to Goku due to his utility things like Solar Flare and his ranged attacks.
No, I'm sorry. Keep in mind that if we take like Kenshiro's entire statement at face value, Kenshiro has access to the demon aura by the end of the series. Also, Kenshiro confirms in like with Shu's soul, basically he can fight while blinded. Also, even if you take that further, let's talk about Shu's secret technique for a minute, since he doesn't seem to be bringing up Shu at all. Shu's secret technique removes all of your senses and traps you like in a black void before he attacks you, and you have no way to predict him whatsoever. You have no way of knowing where he is or anything. Kenshiro's able to predict him and catch his attack. It doesn't matter, like, the only way you're killing Kenshiro is with an insta-kill, or if you can somehow keep up with him. But again, even Ultra Instinct, there are arguments that Kenshiro would be able to keep up with him pretty easily.
Having more range than Ken's do. Things like the Destructo Disc would be able to significantly injure, if not kill Ken instantly if they landed. Without equal stats, it'd be nigh impossible if Goku went all out on Ken immediately.
Okay, so just to clarify here a little bit, the Destructo Discs, that is fair. The Destructo Disc could probably kill him. That being said, Nanto Seiken basically does what the Destructo Disc does. It just slices apart anything it hits practically instantly. You could argue that if Goku can, well, you could argue if Kenshiro can take Nanto Seiken, maybe he might be able to take a Destructo Disc, but then again, like, Kenshiro basically confirms that Nanto Seiken can't kill him consistently. So, Destructo Disc is fine, but again, you're also assuming Kenshiro would let himself get hit. Keep in mind, we're talking about a guy who should have instinctive reaction as well. And again, if we give him the Demon Aura, which he should be able to access, yeah, good, have fun.
While with Muso Tensei, Goku can't hit Kenshiro. If Goku flies real high into the air, there's not much Ken can really do but cry, because there's not really anything he can do about that. Ken can jump really high, but Goku can definitely fly higher. If Goku blew up the Earth, which isn't very characteristic, but regardless, there's not much Ken could really do about it, as even in MT, no one he's fought has had power even close to being able to do that. If Goku
okay, so this is where, like, again, you get into, like, statements. Technically, you can argue pretty consistently that, like, the Fist of the North Star characters could be considered, like, Starbusters, and even then, in Fist of the Blue Sky Regenesis, recently, it was revealed that the main antagonist of Regenesis, who Kenshiro should scale with the protagonist who's going to end up beating him, can destroy stars. So, granted, like, Regenesis is weird, it's not done yet, but, like, we have a pretty solid idea of what's going to happen based off the anime.
Who magically somehow punches Kenshiro, Ken's most likely dead, as no one from his verse hits that hard. Goku
Again, yeah, depending on how you want to take statements and stuff.
is also way faster than Ken is. If this was a death battle thing, I bet they say some shit like, yes, Goku is 50,080 billion gigajoules of explosive TNT.
Okay, so I'm just going to clarify right now. Regarding speed, I only really if you scale Goku to Whis. I think that's what VSB scales him to right now. Because, again, Blue Sky Regenesis gives Kenshiro a massively stupid speed upgrade.
That wasn't the original conversation we're having, so it does not matter. Anyways, I'm sure people are gonna have things to say about this video. As always, I'm happy to discuss with any of you guys in the comments below. I'm trying to hit 350 subs before the end of the month, so if this interested you, I hope you subscribe.
Seems it did.
I've been M, and I am out.
Alright, so it seems he does some Fist of the North Star content. I'll subscribe and see how that goes. Yeah, no, yeah, good video overall. Definitely some points I would, just definitely, like, I wouldn't say contest, but like, yeah, I've already added my 2 cents for the most part. Yeah, overall, solid video. I will say, I will sit down and go through Solia's chapters again real quickly as this video is uploading because I don't think that's right about him using Muso Tensei. I don't think that occurs at any point. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this content, I'll link his channel down below to check it out, or at least check out the video to give him the views. And yeah, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for your time as always. Have a nice day, and I'll see you guys on the next stream or video. Take care, everybody.